You know what
Backpacking America
is, right?
It's fucking awesome.
It's Backpacking America, an analytical podcast. All right, so we got Derek back on here today, and we're going to be talking about Event 201, which is basically a mock pandemic drill by the world's largest companies and corporations to prepare for a coronavirus-like pandemic exactly 1 month before coronavirus impacted the world.
Spooky.
Very spooky. So, Derek, what do you got for us on this topic?
Okay, essentially, I really don't have much on it. Right now there's actually an Event 201 website, centerforhealthsecurity.org/event 201, and it basically goes over how the John Hopkins Center for Health and Security, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation hosted a high-level pandemic exercise October 18th, 2019 in New York, New York. So, when you look at the Event 201 highlights video, their simulation for this virus, they use coronavirus. The way that they present this to you is that the virus starts in pigs in South America and it spreads to farmers and workers and then spreads to the cities. It's very similar to how it's not really. I mean, who really knows how it started? You know, there's a bunch of different theories, you know, whether it comes from the pangolins, people eating pangolins, and the disease went to the humans from the pangolin, or the Wuhan, what is that? The research center in Wuhan there's speculations that the virus may have came out of there. But the one thing about this Event 201 is that they had a pandemic exercise with coronavirus. Basically, what would we do if coronavirus hit us 1 month before coronavirus actually hit us? That's what I got.
I think what's interesting about that is that they claim to know about coronavirus since November 2019, like since it was spreading then, but they only just recently started preparing for it. So if they knew about it and they started preparing for it and they had it all worked out, you know, why would they let it spread if that's the case? And if they let it spread, was it because of their own incompetence? Like, was this like a Pearl Harbor type of situation where it was like, we'll be fine? Or was it an intent to commit insider trading and then, you know, raise profits by taking advantage of new markets and capital opportunities?
There's definitely a lot of capital opportunities. I'm sorry. There's a lot of capital opportunities involved in the virus right now. For one, obviously, you know, the stimulus package, trillions of dollars are being released into the general public, which creates a lot of room for people to collect this money. So people get their stimulus checks, obviously, and the money is released into the country. Now, what strikes me as funny is that a lot of these billionaires doubled or tripled their net worth in the span. So how are they doing that? I feel like they're almost farming stimmies. I feel like they're almost farming stimulus checks in some type of way. I don't know how, but something strikes me that they're farming people's stimulus checks.
You know, I think that holds validity because there's been a push by Elon Musk and other wealthy investors to get people to invest their stimulus checks in the stock market. There's been trends in social media where it's like, oh, did you know you could, you know, get an LLC, or did you know that you could invest this and that into this stock or whatever in order to get money? And not to say that that's an outright scam, because people did get money back, but like it does ultimately benefit the majority stockholders. So to me, I feel like it may have been like an investment scam to get those that already were stable enough to spend that money not frugally. And I also feel like it was a means to get people to buy stupid shit. And I feel like also the gun, I mean, if you saw like when this first happened, like people were buying dinosaur costumes and like those inflatable dinosaurs, and they charge at each other. Or they'd buy like just things they didn't need because the checks didn't go to people that actually needed them. It went to, you know, also people that didn't need the checks. There was also the what was this other thing? Oh yes, the gun lobby. Firearm sales exploded more than they've exploded after any mass shooting or potential gun grab by the federal government. This was a massive boon for the civilian arms industry. So I feel like there's that end to it. Then there's also the medical companies that were like, oh shit, we can make so much money with masks. I feel like it definitely wasn't planned, but it was a blessing in disguise for the wealthy. I really do think that.
Without a doubt. I remember actually when the virus first struck around February and March, when the mask, just a little bit off topic, but I remember when the virus first struck and people were just starting to panic about it. I actually saw a lot of propaganda telling people to not wear masks. Did you notice that?
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, it was because Fauci was saying, "Oh, well, I didn't want people to just buy up the masks because first responders needed them." But at the same time, why wouldn't the hospitals and the medical companies just buy the surplus from Walgreens or like Walmart or whatever before it even hit the shelves? Like they would have known that weeks before. So like, why not just like give them the masks first? Like, why would you lie to regular people?
That's what I'm saying. What was how would that benefit anybody? Telling people to not wear masks. Then double mask now. All right, one's not good enough. We got to wear two. That's a little weird. But back to event 201. So this was held on October 18th, 2019. So let me just pull up my trusty internet here and look at the first recorded case of corona. I'm pretty sure this is going to be. I'm going to guess and say in December. Let me see. Was first reported from Wuhan, China on the 31st of December 2019.
Wow.
Oh, here's one that says it's traced back into November. Some saying January, some saying so it's going to be from November to January for actual recorded cases. But how did they detect the first case? Was that a test? I guess that was like the first test, right?
I don't even know how they determined it because they didn't even have tests for the longest time.
Right. I remember it was being so difficult for us to get tested. I remember we were trying so hard for so long to get tests sent out.
I feel
Huh.
like we're never going to find out about this until like 20 years later where, there's like a paper released called like the COVID papers or something. And then like it ends up being like, oh, some of the conspiracy theories were actually true. Um, which, I mean, I don't even discount at this point. I don't feel like we're dragging with the lockdown or anything. I feel like actually compared to Europe, we're like a free country. We can have protests. We can go to the bars. We can go to the movies. The only criticism I really have that has come with this, and it's is the um, you can go out to a bar, you can go out to a restaurant, but God forbid you hang out with your friends at your house. That doesn't make sense to me because if you look at the layout of an average bar, they don't have MERV 13 filters. And if they have them, they don't have the money to keep replacing the filter. So I was in a bar the other night and I was sitting there just talking to my friends. I'm like, I don't understand why we need to wear masks when we're walking around because, like, you do understand when you take the mask off and there's fans in the bars. That
Right.
takes your particles and swirls them around the whole building. And thus that's going to get everyone sick and people aren't following the capacity guidelines. That's all a crock of shit. um I know plenty of people that have told me like, yeah, like they don't really follow that, blah blah blah. So it's just, to me, it's kind of like, are you fucking kidding me? um it's just silly. It's just really silly. I think that with event 201, in regards to that, how this kind of falls in, is like we already knew about it and there was preparations made, but when I was watching it, like the highlights of it especially, the concern wasn't really loss of life, it was more loss of profit and loss of industrial output.
Loss of infrastructure, economical infrastructure
Exactly.
as well. Oh man,
Exactly.
I think that one of the main motives for event 201, or it's my speculation now. It's kind of frustrating how you mentioned before. Are we ever really going to see the truth in mine in your lifetime with everything from the Epstein case all the way to now? Are we really ever going to hear the truth of what happened? because there's so many different speculations, there's so many different possibilities, and nothing really has been solidified yet. There's really no solidified. Here's what happened, and here's why it happened. It's really not solidified right now,
I
and
think
it's frustrating.
it's very frustrating, but like the thing is that we need to ask ourselves two questions. One, do we want to know? And two, what are we going to do with the information when we do know? Because the Afghanistan Papers, like, they literally admitted, like, yeah, we commit war crimes and we have no idea why the fuck we're still in Afghanistan. And it was announced all over the Washington Post. It was announced all over mainstream media. It was announced all over the social media. And no one really did anything. It was just kind of like, oh, it's kind of what we always knew. So that leads me to believe. But then here's the thing, too. Why would the United States government, the world's largest and most secretive security state, release information saying that?
I'm
Because
sorry. When were these papers released?
2019.
Okay.
And it's just kind of like it was a comprehensive report, and it seems legitimate to me. But like, it's also the FBI and CIA releasing it. And while you can look at the archives of declassified material, who's to say can we even trust it? Is it not altered? Because we all know that the CIA has altered history and has done experiments like MK Ultra with
Mm.
mind control. So like, can we trust them? Like, why would they show us this information? Why do they want us to know now? It's not like it's too late for us to do anything. If anything, this summer we saw the most uprisings in almost a century in the United States. Uh, so I don't understand why they choose now to do it. Very weird. And I feel like the past year, especially like 2019, has been like a lot of crazy shit was happening in 2019. Like
A
it
lot
almost,
of shit.
yeah. Like I feel like it was all leading up to this. Like there was a bubble, you know,
There
like
really was.
there was a lot of mass shootings. There was a lot of MAGA versus socialist fights, and they were getting pretty bad. From what I remember, there was this air of revolutionary outcry. I remember that permeated all levels of life. People were talking about resistance and fighting back and different ways to do that. And not that we aren't now, but it was at such a point and such an intense point that it's no surprise that everything exploded after the first lockdown in May.
Mm.
I feel like this was, I don't think the virus was planned, but I think we knew about the virus and we took advantage of it to kind of quell the potential for an uprising. I think it just happened to work out. Because my theory is that with all the lockdowns and such, like we're allowed to protest and all that, but there were suppressions of that and like arrests and intimidations of activists, and then the government kind of moved in to take over like the Black Lives Matter movement and to suppress the socialism. So I feel that even though we knew about it, it was just kind of like, let's let this kind of get to a big enough deal to where we can get people to be like, nope, wear a mask for safety, shut down for safety, and let's use their fear and the ability that and the time they have to be stuck inside to kind of regroup, because we were putting pressure on the government for a
Mm.
long time, and people didn't want to protest for a long time. That's 2 months. That's more than enough time for the U.S. government to recuperate. So I feel like they took advantage of the virus to kind of recuperate and prevent any loss of control over the population. I don't think the lockdowns were necessarily for that, but it certainly helped. Like I think the lockdown was necessary so we could figure out what the fuck was going on, but
Without a doubt.
at the same time, they used it for ill purposes.
Without a doubt. Um. Wow, that's an interesting.
Kind of.
Do you think that they were losing control prior to the virus and everything? Do you think that there was a loss? Because it kind of seems that the virus is kind of what triggered the turmoil. It seems that everything in politics and any kind of issues we have had got really really tense during the first months of the pandemic. It seemed that it got really really tense, more than I've ever seen in my life.
Well, the thing is that tension was building. They knew that the explosion was coming. It was just a matter of what was going to happen. So, for example, New York State, we were really running out of money. Like SUNY was running out of money, and at least in my area, it was like, you could kind of feel the tension in the air, kind of like, there was going to be budget cuts. There was going to be like, oh, am I going to have a job? I almost thought I wasn't going to have a job because they were going to cut I thought they were going to cut my paycheck
Mm.
out of the equation. So there was all that going on in New York, and then in 2019 specifically, across the country, there were teacher strikes and a lot of union drives. So all of this was kind of building. All of this anger was building, and it was just kind of like it was going to explode after the Democratic primary or the election.
Mm.
And they kind of knew that, the government. And I think what ended up happening was like when the COVID hit, the government was like, okay, we can shut down the economy. Not the best, but it'll keep us, from having to deal with something a lot worse. And then what ends up happening is it exploded. The political violence exploded because of what happened on May 20th, I believe, with George Floyd dying. I believe that's just where it was like, you know what, fuck it. You're keeping us in our houses. We're starving. We're going to kill someone. And it's just kind of like, everyone just kind of went at it after that. And that's when things were very tense. And that's when, friends started turning on each other, and simple things that would have been a disagreement in the past ended up ruining friendships and creating new enemies and new tensions. So I agree with you. Yeah, everything exploded because of COVID was the catalyst for that. 100,000 people descended on Philadelphia. It is led by the what was it, not the IWW, the Workers' World Party, and they which is a communist party. They led 100,000 person march through the streets of Philadelphia. Um, that's like, of course, that party doesn't really do much, but still, the
Hmm.
fact that they were like, yeah, 100,000
They
people
actually went out and marched and did something.
with communists.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's just like it's interesting because it's like all this pro labor
Everybody kind of
stuff.
came out, if you will. Like everybody was feeling some type of way, and it all kind of, like you said, it kind of erupted at a certain point. And I noticed post Corona, or like after Corona really launched, May was when shit really hit the fan. I noticed through the use of social media that people really are identifying, using political views as an identifying factor of themselves. So, Obama, Obama election or whatever. I understand, there was like a little bit of tension, but people never really identified with their personal identity of their political standpoint. So now it's like, oh, if you're conservative, I can't be your friend. I can't even look at you. Or if you're, you know, whatever. If you're
Yeah, that I
whatever, I
never
just
that I never
it's
understood.
extreme.
Because here's the thing, Biden is doing the same thing that Trump did, except politely. Like, kids are still in cages. We're still on a war footing with China. Oh, I saw something else where it was like he was going to open schools. All the things that we were fighting against Trump for, now the liberals are like, our guys in, so it's not terrible. And it's like, what was the point of all of that? People died. People died for this, and it was for nothing. People died for the Democratic Party. People were fighting for the Democratic Party in the streets. They weren't fighting for socialism. They weren't fighting for communism. They voted for the Democratic Party. By and large, most Black Lives Matter protesters voted for Joe Biden. They were
Right.
fully tricked by the Democratic Party. Very few were communists that actually knew, we were risking our lives for something, more than just the party. Um, the Democratic Party, they were dying for the Democratic Party, and nothing fundamentally changed.
One thing that confuses me about that is that Democrats tend to be leaning more towards, social distancing, wear your mask. Um, who cares about your haircut? People's lives are at risk here. And it kind of contradicted itself when social distancing, wear your mask, be healthy for the virus, when people are coagulating in groups of hundreds of thousands within feet of each other, breathing on each other's necks. That kind of was a little off putting because it's almost contradictory as to what you were fighting for. a
Yeah,
month prior.
and
I understand the magnitude and the situation that we were presented with and the need and want for change, but it kind of like flipped on itself when everybody's breathing down their necks when just 1 month ago everybody was fucking social distancing, this, that, and the other.
it's
I don't
well, a
know.
lot of it was used too just to seem like civic and to do their duty. And there was reports saying that it is safe to protest and that, there was no major
How is it
outbreaks.
safe to protest if it's not safe to be within 6 feet of somebody? I don't understand that.
Well, the within 6 feet, it's like if you don't have a mask, you shouldn't be like less than 6 feet apart. That's why when this first started, people, like if you saw on television cruises when they had people interviewed outside, they were 6 feet apart, but they weren't wearing masks. If you have to be less than 6 feet, you have to wear a mask. So basically, the theory is that when you're at a protest and everyone wears a mask, the rate of infection goes down. Now, that's not to say people didn't get COVID from
Yeah, no
protests.
doubt.
They
No
definitely
doubt.
did. But, there wasn't a mass outbreak. So they say in the news. We don't really know because then here's the thing, too. There's two reasons why they didn't want to do it. One, it'll look like a crackdown on free speech, and then people are going to protest even harder, and that's going to be terrifying to the elite. And two, they say that because they want, the Democratic establishment is just kind of like, yeah, go out and protest. There's not really an issue here. Actually, I don't even really see it as a second issue. That doesn't really make sense. I think it's more of along the first issues where it's like, yeah, if we take away the right to protest, people are going to actually like rise up. Because the whole point of America is that, they have to maintain power, but they can't do it like outwardly authoritarian like in other countries. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if they took away the right to protest, that would be just called Nazi, and then there would be mass riots. Um, that's kind of where I get.
Declaration of Independence was a prank.
It really was a prank. It was just kind of like, yeah, bro. Yo, can you imagine like what was it, buffoonery you have to have in your system? Be like, yeah, let's tell the British we're just gonna declare independence and then fucking start shooting at them immediately after. I think that's pretty badass. Did you hear about
Oh, the British are coming.
the British are kind of
Paul Revere. That's Paul Revere right there.
I think actually during the Revolution or the War of 1812, one of them, we sent a Navy unit to England and we bombarded the shore of like London or something, and and just to blow it up. We didn't even try to invade or anything. We just blew up their ships and we like raided like the coastal villages and then we left. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's pretty badass.
That is badass. Just pulling up and fucking shit up and like, all right, I'm out of here. Pack up. Let's go back home.
America for the win. Ooh.
Yeah, we're not even coming over here to like conquer land. We're just gonna come over here and fuck you up, rough you up a little bit.
That's for 1776, motherfuckers. That's funny. Like that's the only like gang shit I'll talk about in America. Like, that was one of the few gang shits we did. But back to the COVID thing. Like I honestly, bro, I feel like it was taken advantage of a little bit, and people mostly protested just to feel like they were a part of something and to get out of their house. I don't think a lot of the people that experienced the summer of revolt, unless they like physically stormed a police station, actually totally give a shit because they're still not organizing marches. They're not in the same rate as it was over the summer. And me and you were, we were present at those, and it's just kind of like
Mm-hmm.
it was cool, but like outside of like the few things we did, like there wasn't much else. Like a protest isn't enough. Like you need to like if you're gonna have a
Yo,
revolution.
somebody has to die.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like someone has to get clipped, and you got to organize a resistance. Like you can't just protest it away. You can't shout your head off. Even if you blow up every police station in the country, it's not enough. It's a good start, but it's not enough. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's very annoying to see people think this is like a video game, and it's not. It's real life. People died. Like that Ashley, like
Yeah,
even on the other
that's
side too, like that Ashley Babbitt girl, she got fucking clocked. She got
she got shot in the head, right?
she got blasted. I don't know if she got shot in the head, but she got blasted. Like people
Yeah, I
died
saw
for
that. That was
nothing.
disturbing.
People
Yeah,
died
that was
for
very
nothing.
disturbing.
And it was. And then there was, of course, in 2017, Heather Heyer got hit by a car and killed, and all those people in the street got, fucking injured. And then, there were people that lost limbs over the summer from tear gas canisters and rubber bullets. There are people like on our side that lost limbs for nothing, for the Democratic Party, because they thought Joe Biden and the Democratic Party were going to reverse everything that Trump did, and nothing happened. Nothing
That's the only thing
happened.
I didn't like about it, is that it involved, there was a lot of Trump tension, and like Trump versus Biden tension too. It wasn't mainly for the BLM movement. It was, but there was a lot of like anti-Trump. I saw like a BLM like march, and there was like cars with Biden flags, and I was just like, that's, I understand, but it's not the point.
It's
No, it's
not at
not.
all.
It's not.
It's like Joe Biden literally is not going to fundamentally change anything. He literally said that. He threatened to he threatened to beat the shit out of a voter for asking a question.
Yo, what?
Yeah, you didn't see that video? Yo, look that up really quick.
Oh
That
my
shit was
gosh.
hysterical. The man's dead ass said, "Yo, I will punch you in the face, Sonny," or some shit.
He said, put him up. He
Yeah,
said,
he
put him up,
really
chap.
did. Yeah. Tally ho, good fellow.
Spark the pipette and put him up like Popeye. Eats his spinach. Yo.
Come here, you scoundrel. Bro, he literally, and then there was a time like he was talking and he was like, that's why I'm running for Senate. I mean president. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? And like none of the other candidates were really any better. The only okay one was Bernie. And I say Bernie's okay because he doesn't get to the root of like imperialism. He doesn't really deal with that. And I'm kind of sussed out about his past voting record, but like, I don't know, man. Like Joe Biden, he even said, what did he say? He said, "You shouldn't vote for me. Please don't vote for me." Like he actually said that, like before he was even like considered, and then somehow he wins, and he won because all the votes for Bernie were like burned and gotten rid of, and people got purged from the party. I tried to register as a Democrat. I got removed from voting, not voting, but like they said that like they removed my party status and they said not aligned. And then they also called me and said, "Yo, you missed the deadline," which was not true. I did not miss the deadline to register to change my party affiliation. So I couldn't vote in the Democratic primaries. So yeah, that was really terrible. Um and then my friend's ex-girlfriend, my roommate's ex-girlfriend, she tried to um register as change her address, and then when she got her voter card back, it said no party affiliation. So she got purged from the party. So we were dealing with with party purges in the Democratic Party, and mounting inequality, and then this political turmoil in the lead up to the election, and then COVID happened. So I feel like all of this kind of happened for a reason, you know. There was a lot of momentum. This would have went, honestly, I feel like the movement, if COVID didn't happen, would have been a lot more secured and strong and centralized if the COVID pandemic didn't happen and we didn't have to stay in our houses for so long.
Do you think that people staying in their houses and being on quote unquote lock? I mean, you didn't really have to stay inside of your house, but a lot of people took it that way, I think. And I think a lot of people were actually even scared just to go take a walk outside in the sun.
A lot of people were.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you
Absolutely.
think that contributed to the extreme stuff that happened?
What do you mean the extreme stuff?
Like, do you think cabin fever amped people up a little bit more than they would have naturally been without being inside?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, absolutely. People were pissed off and angry, and it gave people time to think, really. It gave them, because they were off work for weeks, and people that never traditionally were able to go to protests or be leaders in their community were able to be leaders in their community. Like, I saw a kid I went to high school with, he never gave a shit about politics, and I saw him leading the charge to take over multiple highways in Long Island over the summer. Like he helped take over multiple highways. Another kid I know, he was swinging his skateboard at cops, holding them back, and leading like groups of 10 or 12 people like to charge with him. And it was just like people, because they actually had time to think. They didn't have to
Right.
deal with anything else. They had time to think and say, this is wrong. Not even just like everything that's happened over the past few years, or just over, time to question things, and they're just like, oh my God, this is terrible. And then they finally were able to act. That's why we saw a lot of new faces out in the street, and a lot of new organizations, and a lot of, you know, just like new, a lot of new. And unfortunately, a lot of new with no centralized leadership leads to a lot of mistakes. And that's
Mm.
like, one of the big takeaways from this was that no centralized leadership in the Black Lives Matter movement. That's why it collapsed.
If they had an established thing, I definitely think that it would have went a lot better, and I think that it would still be prominent all the way until now. It's still prominently, but it's minuscule compared to how it was a couple months
Well,
ago.
it's corporatized. It's corporatized
Yeah,
now. Like,
it's corporatized and monetized now. It's, look, our company supports this, buy our product.
yeah,
Oh man, that's
there's
that's brutal.
there's a lot of performative activism. I mean, you go on Tinder, bro. I don't know if you have Tinder, but go on that shit, and then I guarantee you will see every white girl with a fucking Black Lives Matter interest on their bio, and it's so sick. It's so sick. It's disgusting. It's just you're
It's an identity now. It's being monetized to the point where it's like an identity. Like, oh, this company's doing it, they're doing good, or this person's doing it, and it's a look good thing. I understand to a degree, but it's kind of like it's an identity,
it
and
is.
instead of a belief, it's become an identity instead of a belief.
And when you challenge someone's identity, they get hostile, and that's why we see so much hostility when you call out inefficiencies. It's not even saying that the movement is useless. It's just like it's inefficient. It failed, and if you say that, you're bad. And I feel like a lot of people can't have that conversation.
Oh man, this
And
is getting gnarly.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people can't have that conversation, and I really don't care. I mean, I've been called out for things, for not sharing certain things on my Instagram story, like
Why should you be demonized for that?
well, I
Are
don't
you
know.
are you not allowed to have? That's the only thing is I feel like free. We were talking about this last time about how free thinking, not even free thinking, but freedom of opinion. It's basically free thinking is kind of being like removed, but not by. It's not like a KGB agent that would come to your house and fuck you up and like strangle you. It's like other people like that feel against however you feel. And I'm not saying that, oh, if you don't agree with their views, you're a Nazi. That's not really a fact. It's just like some of the stuff's irrational. It makes sense, most of it, but some of it's really irrational, and you're not allowed to. You're allowed to, but you're gonna get demonized and ostracized for having a separate opinion from what basically is set the set opinion. There's like a weird preset. There's like a weird like default opinion that like people have with whether it be like blue lives matter or black lives matter. There's this weird default there, and there's no in between, and you just can't argue with it. You know, it's critical thinking. There's no critical thinking because the way I'm set up personally is if you support Trump, I'm gonna argue with you. If you support Biden, I'm going to argue with you. If you support Bernie, I'm going to argue with you because I'm always thinking around stuff. I'm always thinking through stuff. People don't really do that anymore. I feel like you're born and your family's blue lives matter. Your blue lives matter. You're not going to think. There's lots of indoctrination too, as well, with that type of stuff.
It's
Uh,
familial indoctrination, and a lot of it is like what I was seeing too before COVID was people breaking up with their significant others, or not canceling, but like not talking to family members because of their political affiliation. And it's very sad because, I mean, it's actually very stupid because the Democratic and Republican Party are one and the same party. Uh,
it's a shame of how much of an influence this has. Listen, I understand you can believe in what you want to believe in, but I think it's uh disrespectful, so to say, to what's the I don't really it's disrespectful to yourself and other people to just completely like shut out any other free thinking or any other type of thoughts rather than this default opinion that you're given, that you are set to follow. It's
They don't
it's a
question
shame.
sources. It's just
They
like,
don't question sources. They don't question. People don't question themselves. That's the problem. It's not what am I doing, but it is why am I doing it.
exactly. Like, I even have that. Like, I've changed my opinion on multiple things. Like, I don't even agree with Lenin on a lot of things. Um, not enough to say I'm not a communist, of course, but it's just the same. Like, you need to criticize your own beliefs, or you're just a radical. And like, if you don't question anything and you wholeheartedly believe in everything, to a T, there's a problem there, because you shouldn't. Like, how do you believe in absolutely everything that one
I
person
think
is saying?
everybody should think critically, and that is something that we really don't have anymore. Because as on our last episode, we were talking about algorithms and how they, you like a Donald Trump thing, and it's going to show you more Donald Trump things, and with that Donald Trump thing comes anti-liberal things, and it kind of hammers this shit into your head and essentially programs you. It's
It's definitely.
without without social media, how do you think it would have been different?
I think what would have happened if it wasn't with social media, I mean, there would still be this issue
I
of the
think it
new
would still be
left.
going on, and I think that it would have been a fucking way bigger thing because people would have taken it a lot more seriously. The way that amendments were basically set up, uh, or they were supposed to be. It was a fucking prank, but essentially, we were supposed to be able to fight against tyranny. If these people are fucking us wrong, we're allowed to have guns and we're allowed to fight back. You know,
Yeah,
didn't really
and
work out that way.
the thing is this would have mirrored something similar to the 1960s in the sense of the scale and the dedication to the cause. Even though I disagree with the new left on a lot of things, I think it would have mirrored that a lot. We would have had another Kent State for sure, because people would have been with the shits. Um, but here it's more just like, your sense of activism and duty can literally be limited to, oh, you posted something on the internet, that's education, good job. That's not true. I mean, like, most people, bro, they think that posting something on their story is good. And like, I post stuff on my story because it actually does get a reaction out of people, because the stuff I say is just like, whoa, what the fuck? But um when you post those frilly little slideshows, those like 10 slideshows, man, people are going to just pass right through those. Or maybe if they see it, they're just going to post it to look socially conscious.
Some people eat that shit up though.
They do, yeah. Some people really do, and it's like, that's not how you get information. Like, it's condensed to like a power. It's a PowerPoint, dude. It's a PowerPoint. You're
When
literally
these 14
glorifying a
year olds wake up in
PowerPoint.
the Middle East, when these 14-year-olds wake up with an AK-47, do you think they're going to go on their phone and make an Instagram post about their radicals? No, they go out with that fucking AK and they shred. They
Exactly,
shred. That
exactly.
ain't no Instagram post. There ain't no social media over there. That's like that just it just shows a difference. Like it's like I feel like it's like watered down and like it's like flowered. It's like all
Revolution.
sparkles and fucking yeah, all sparkles and fucking confetti.
That's how they portray
That ain't it.
revolution, and
Right.
they make money off of it. That's why there's Che Guevara T-shirts. I mean, like, our heroes are nothing. Fucking what they did in that Black Panther movie, where they made a Black Panther movie, bro, like about the Black Panther Party, and it's
I
like,
saw that. That was yes. That's money. That
that's
was
just
straight
money.
monetizing off the movement. That was straight monetizing off the movement. That shit was so disrespectful. That was disrespectful at that time too. Like, oh, I just sent you a link in the chat, by the way. This YouTube channel. It's I don't know. It's not in English, but like, do you think that those people on that channel post about what they're gonna do with that Dragonov in the morning, or do you think they go with that Dragonov and they just start sniping shit, bro?
Let me see here. Oh yeah, bro. They
It's that part of YouTube.
Oh, it's like one of
It's
those.
that part.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing about, the United States, is that we live a very privileged life, and well, we do have our problems for sure, and there is absolutely wealth disparity in certain parts of America that do look like a third world country. By and large, we are very lucky, and this is all the result that happens in the third world countries because of our failure to have a social movement that can stop imperialism.
Our
Everyone.
infrastructure in New York City is beyond shot. They have to have teams of guys going around in the subways 24/7, keeping shit running because it's old as all hell. I was watching this documentary, and the shit underneath the city, and it's just crumbling. It's the poorest, richest country in the world.
Exactly. And the ways to fix things are all for more money. Like Pete Buttigieg is the transportation secretary under Biden, and he said he wanted to install a driving miles tax where basically you're taxed on the amount of miles you drive in your car to fund public transit. I mean, what a fucking idiot. That is the dumbest shit I've ever fucking heard in my life. How the fuck are you going to track that? Number one. Number two, why the fuck are you going to do that? People don't even have the money to maintain their cars. Do you know how many fucking cars I see on Long Island with donuts that are
Fucked up.
twice over the limit used and like they're falling apart? I mean, Jesus Christ, the Long Island Expressway is like driving through Fallujah. You know, you're not going to how are you going to tax me when the roads are that shitty? Just raise taxes, literally just tax the fucking rich. They don't even use the subways. They don't even use them. Like, bro, they don't even like the rich in the city, they don't even drive cars. Like just tax them. Or I don't know, maybe like take all the money that you like first off, we need to see where all that money from defunding the New York City police went cuz like I am very curious to see if it went to the social programs and how much of it actually went to that and if there's any money we could use to put into the MTA. Number 1. Number 2, marijuana is finally legal in New York State. So I think we need to start I think what they need to do, you know what they really need to do? They need to legalize weed across the United States of America and take all of those profits and put it into
Oh yeah.
transportation and rehabilitative justice, and that's
We
it.
would be beautiful. We would be such a beautiful country. I think that these taxes, it's going to benefit. It's going to benefit the country in a lot of ways. With weed being legal, number one, less bar fights. People are going to go to coffee shops and smoke gas and just be chilling straight up.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
people are going to be
yeah.
way more chill. But number two, the amount of tax, dude. Like when I went to Cali, the list price of the eighth on the website or in the store is like $35, but you end up paying 65 because there's so much taxes and fees. Which listen, I'm not complaining. That was some good ass weed, but it's going to generate a lot of wealth. And if we don't see the country getting better, if it does get federally legalized and we don't see the country getting any better, something's fucked up there. Because the price of one F-18 Super Hornet is 66.9 million US dollars.
All we
And
need to do is just decrease the military. We don't need.
that's what I'm saying. If we start buying more military shit with this weed money, it's going to we're just gonna be in the same fucking situation. I understand we want a good military, but I'm looking at it right now. The United States has 600 F-18 Super Hornets, 66.9 million each. If we were just to remove 100 of those from this fleet, we would have enough money to fix probably the entirety of New York City's infrastructure. Now let's do a comparison of how many. This is just F-18 Super Hornets here too. We have 600 of them. That's just Hornets. There's other models. There's F-14 Tomcats and all
F-22
that other shit.
Raptors.
F-22 Raptors. Yeah, that they have 600 Hornets. So let's see how many. Let's see how many Hornets. What does Russia use? They use the Su-37, right?
I think they do. Yeah.
Su-27. How many Sus does Russia have? Let's see. 76. They got 76. 76 Sukhois. Oh wait, no, here we go. Okay, but they got 124 Su-34s. No, they got a pretty hefty whoa. Holy smokes. Oh my lord. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm gonna send you this. I don't know how good this is, but you gotta check out their fleet because that's serious. Now let's put this next to America's Air Force numbers. I want to compare this side by side because that's fucking crazy. Holy shit.
Let's see here.
Wow, the amount of money that the world puts into fighting and horrible these planes, bro. Oh, the A-10 Warthog, bro. You ever see the GAU? It's like a GAU 40. I forgot what the gun is, but it's that fucking like 10-barrel minigun in the front of the
Yeah,
A-10.
yeah, I have.
Holy shit, bro. Those things are mean. Like these are some of the meanest machines that like this shit's just straight like fucking shred you to pieces. This will like shred your whole entire community. Like one pass from an A-10 will shred your street with those explosive rounds.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, that's why it's
Oh,
disgusting. It's like we don't. The honestly, the only reason we're getting attacked is because we start shit. And the
we stick our nose where it don't belong.
if we literally just pulled out. Now, we of course we need a socialist government to do this because any capitalist government would not do this. We would need like to pull all our bases out of Europe completely. We're gonna leave NATO. We'd have to, and then we'd have to defund
I
me.
think that would weaken us though. If we left NATO, that would definitely put a fucking that would be dangerous.
It probably would, but like again, I'm not too sure because if we literally just say, nah, we're not going to bomb anyone, we're just going to maintain a military for our own defense and just join like regional alliances, like, that's not going to be like the end of the world because a lot of people, the only people I could see having an issue with it is the EU. I could see the EU maybe using Canada or Mexico as a proxy to try and like destabilize us so they could like expand their markets because they will try to get their markets
Mm-hmm.
back. I did talk about
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump being threatened by Trudeau in the last episode with you, right?
Don't believe so.
Okay, so basically what happened was Trudeau tweeted out, he was like, yeah, if the election doesn't go as planned in the United States, Canada is going to intervene on behalf of the free world. And they were basically saying, like, yeah, we're going to invade you. And they would get backed by the United Kingdom, which is a NATO member, and they would get, France would
That
back them up.
also basically all NATO would just turn around to the United States.
Yeah, because they want to make sure the market's stable so they could sell shit. It's not even like you have to be socialist to get that outcome. Trump was a right populist.
Would you consider that would you consider that capitalist resistance?
Absolutely, yeah. And the bourgeoisie is not. It's a unified class until the money stops. So it's just kind of like that's why all these world wars happened because the international capitalist class came into conflict with each other. It's like, okay, what you're doing is fucking with my money, so we're gonna get our boys and you're gonna get your boys and we're gonna fight it out. And that's basically what was gonna happen with us if the election didn't go through. They were gonna intervene
Mm-hmm.
and invade. And I don't see that as a good or bad. I just see that as that's what would have happened because it would be one capitalist class versus another, and it would be duking out to see who would have supremacy over this foreign market, which would be America's market.
Hmm.
Because if he brought back all the industry, if the Congress let him bring back all the industry, and if outsourcing was really ended, um, that would be a massive blow to the international community because the largest consumer-based economy would therefore be consuming its own products. Essentially, America is a colonized nation. Our working class is colonized by the whole world because we are forced to buy and we cannot defend ourselves or make our own goods. And any goods we do make are sent overseas.
Most of our goods come from overseas, and any goods that we do make go overseas is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
What kind of goods do we send over? What kind of resources do we have here that are valuable to other
We
countries?
sent we send a lot of timber to Canada, and the timber is what they use to make masks, and then they send the masks to us that we rebuy. And
Oh,
then any masks we do make domestically, it was sent to China, Russia, Germany, Poland. It was sent all over the Europe and to our allies, except for us.
why are we sending timber over Canada? Most of that shit's forest up there.
Money. That's why money.
That's wild.
And when Trump was
Wow.
trying to say we're gonna cut the timber industry so we can, so we can make masks here, everyone was in an uproar about it. I remember I was getting into an argument with some other leftists in Canada, and they were pissed off about it, and I was pissed off about it because it's like, well, this is our shit. And they were like, well, we need it or we're gonna die. And I was like, well, tough shit, we're dying at a faster rate than you, so we need this more than you. You're more prepared for this than us. And they were getting all pissed off. It's like the people that were getting pissed off about the what was it? Um the vaccine. We're like, we ordered the vaccine. We barely had like 9% of the national population vaccinated. And people were like, why aren't we sending our vaccine to Africa? And I'm like, bro, because Africa's not dying every fucking. I mean, they are.
United States is the worst. We're the
We are
worst
the
right now for
worst in
Corona,
the
right?
world for
Yeah,
corona.
yeah.
It's like, bro, we're literally dropping dead. Like, we lost more than we did in the Civil War, the bloodiest conflict in American history. And you're telling me you want to send the vaccine to other countries we haven't even vaccinated ourselves? The whole world's going to get vaccinated, and the last people alive are going to be fucking the wealthy people in their bunkers. It's just there's a lot of stupidity when it comes to these things. And I can't blame people because
Wow.
it was a hard time. It was scary. It was like, who deserves this more? And for a brief moment, humanity was reminded of its own mortality, and that's where a
I'm
lot of
just
this comes
thinking.
in.
I'm just thinking before with that thing that you said about how like consuming your own goods is not uh, beneficial to the global economy, and I could see that.
That's
That's
why.
fucked up.
That's why we invade. We tried to overthrow. We tried to overthrow, what was it? Bolivia, because they had access to lithium. Like we were talking about
They
this
had
in
the
the last episode. Yeah,
lithium. Yes,
it's
yeah.
why we went to war with. We went to war with Yugoslavia. NATO bombed Yugoslavia. They said, "Oh, well, there's a genocide here," and there was, but um, we bombed Yugoslavia. We destroyed it so we could have new markets to expand to and take advantage of their natural resources. We destabilized the Soviet Union because we wanted access to their markets. There was a time actually when the Soviet Union was in really bad shape because they weren't resisting U.S. imperialism at all at one point in the 80s. And they sold a seventh of their navy for Pepsi. They wanted Pepsi so bad. They wanted Pepsi so bad. They sold a seventh of their military, and Pepsi was the fifth largest military in the world, military at the world at one point because they had Soviet nuclear submarines that they all sold for scrap metal,
Whoa.
supposedly. Um,
Pepsi. So they wanted to sell Pepsi in their country.
yes, exactly. But the Soviet ruble was not compatible or tradable with any other currency because it was only
Yeah,
for the Soviet Union.
yeah.
And
So they traded physical equipment.
yeah, they traded physical equipment that equaled the monetary amount of the Pepsi they needed.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Holy
And
smokes.
that's why imperialism is terrible, because it will leave you starving for anything. And a lot of these socialist countries that did adopt capitalist reforms did so out of survival necessity, not because they wanted to. The USSR was just bankrupt in the 80s. I mean, like, when the 80s rolled around, just ineffective leadership, reeling after the de-Stalinization of the 50s, you know, after Khrushchev, everything just kept falling back and back and back, and it's like, what the fuck? And it was,
They collapsed in 89, 89
yeah, it collapsed in
or
89.
90.
In 89, actually, no, I'm sorry, it collapsed in 91. It collapsed in 91, um, officially. And China adapted in the 70s a more pro-market approach because they were like, listen, we're poor, we're backward. The Soviet Union doesn't fuck with us anymore because there was the Sino-Soviet split in the 60s, so that happened. And they were like, listen, like, we're fucked, and we have to trade with the West or we're going to get overthrown. And that's why imperialism needs to stop. And it's mostly at the hand of the United States government. Europe is basically allowed to be as wealthy as it is because they're kind of essential to us maintaining a proactive assault on Eastern Europe, meaning like Russia, Ukraine, Belarus. Actually, we kind of have Ukraine in our pocket now. So really, Belarus and Russia is our target.
Belarus was between Russia and
Poland.
what's the other one? Russia and Poland.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like that little country, and
Hmm.
basically, um, that's what we're fighting for, is to gain a foothold all over into Asia, and then eventually surround China, so we can have complete global dominance without any threat to American imperialism or hegemony.
What was that one pact? We had this pact with Ukraine, with Crimea, and in the 90s it was signed. Basically said that if Russia comes in or anybody fucks with Crimea, because that's a disputed zone, right?
Yes.
Said if anybody fucks with Crimea, we're going to come and intervene. And what did they do? What did they do to Crimea a couple
So
years ago?
what happened was Russia sent in these unmarked soldiers. Like they didn't have any markings. They were just like dudes on the block with APCs and shit, and they just took over Crimea. And then the Russian military moved in. And then in eastern Ukraine, they established the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republic, which are basically Russian puppet states in eastern Ukraine.
Are they they're officially established now? So that broke off from Ukraine.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And then
Whoa.
Russia owns the Crimea. And we fund this group called the Azov battalions, which are Ukrainian neo Nazis that we basically funded to fight Russia and support the Ukrainian government in Kiev. And
Puppets.
yeah, puppets. It's a puppet. We allow Europe to exist so long as Europe serves us. I mean, like, why do you think Europe's borders look the way they do? It's because we allowed it to do that. We split up Germany because they were a threat. We allowed Germany to unify because they were no longer a threat and they were obedient to us. And that's why Europe is like a second world country, because they're not poor. They're heavily funded by America, but only because they serve a need. You know, they don't really serve a need when Russia is gone, when it becomes a puppet of America.
Uh-huh.
And that's what
Those are some of the cleanest countries in the world over there, though.
they are, but cleanliness has, nothing to do with it. It's just more we allow them to have the life they have. Kind of. Like we could end it if we wanted to. Like we have so many military bases in Western Europe. If France says, "Yeah, we're going to nationalize our resources," the United States military will just walk into the wherever the fuck the French government has their business and just kill everyone. Like we could do that, and we've done that in the past in Latin America, all over Latin America. It's disgusting. All over Asia, we've done that in. Where else did we do that? I feel like we did something in Spain. We've intervened in Greece after World War II, and we suppressed Greek communists. We did that in Italy because the Italian people said we're going to fight with we want the communists in power because those are the only people fighting the Nazis. If you read stories about Italian partisans, it's Italian communists that led the fight. So, the U.S. government was like, well, the Iron Curtain is already thick, so like we really don't want more of that. And that's just kind of like what happened. So we allowed Europe to be the way it is, and that's like just there's nothing more to it, and there's nothing less to it. It's just that's how it is.
Wow,
Yeah,
that
bro.
is something else. Holy smokes. Talk about a superpower. Holy
How we got
shit.
there from event 201 to this, I have no fucking idea.
Yeah, that's I gotta read up more on the Soviet. I started reading State and Revolution. I got a couple pages and I have a lot of other reading I got for school, but oh my
I
gosh.
know, right? Well, dude, I want to thank you for coming on the episode again. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I'm getting kind of sleepy anyways.
I feel you, bro. I'm about to go make my tea. Thanks for listening, y'all. Make sure to give BPA a follow on Instagram at Backpacking America and Twitter at BPA Podcasting. Make sure to like BPA on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube. The links can be found in the podcast description. Until then, take it easy and stay breezy.